Epic sages, your home for adventure. Crafting worlds where your story's the center. Gear and tools for the brave and the bold. Your journey begins as the tale unfolds.
Step inside where the legends begin. Maps, dice, and stories, the magic within. Adventure in mind, we're here by your side. At Epic Sages, where heroes collide. Every campaign, every turn, every fight, we give you the tools, you shape the night. Epic Sages is where you find satisfaction. With adventure in mind and your own passion. We control the board, you control the action. Epic Sages, where legends find traction. From online to in-store, we've got what you seek. Gear for your quest, world so unique. Your heroes rise, we light the way. Epic Sages, your guide through the fray. No matter the path, no matter the game, your story is yours, we fuel the flame. Epic Sages is where you find satisfaction. With adventure in mind and your own passion. We control the board, you control the action. Epic Sages, where legends find traction. From your first roll to battles well fought, we give you the gear for the stories you've sought. At Epic Sages, the tools are designed with passion and care and adventure in mind. Your world, your rules, your epic tale. With Epic Sages, you will never fail. Epic Sages is where you find satisfaction. With adventure in mind and your own passion. We control the board, you control the action. Epic Sages, where legends find traction. We light the way, you shape the venture. Epic Sages, your home for adventure. From online to in-store, we've got what you seek. Gear for your quest, world so unique. Your heroes rise, we light the way. Epic Sages, your guide through the fray. No matter the path, no matter the game, your story is yours, we fuel the flame. Epic Sages is where you find satisfaction. With adventure in mind and your own passion. We control the board, you control the action. Epic Sages, where legends find traction. We light the way, you shape the venture. Epic Sages, your home for adventure.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to tonight's episode. We're calling tonight's episode Let Rolling Find Your Roll. Roll for your roll. Roll for your roll. That's what it is. And letting fate find your fun. So, we have a slew of wonderful star guests joining us tonight. We're going to get their intros in and all that fun stuff and start off with that. We're going to start with our returning guest, Tim. Tim, tell us about yourself. Where can people find you? What you doing?
Hey, I'm Dr. Tim Blake. I'm a mental health professional of over 30 years, and I work on helping people discover and become who they're meant to be and work on building life mindset. And I can be found over at lifemindset.life and some other elements. So that's just the basics there.
Fantastic. And you've been on, what, 2 times now beforehand? So this is lucky number 3 for you?
It's been 2 times. This is number 3.
Fantastic. All right. Well, introducing our new star guest, starting off with Mary-Beth.
Hi, I'm Mary-Beth Newell. I'm a registered nurse, so in the same healthcare field. I also have a master's degree in science, and I'm an author. I wrote a book, Anti-Aging and Secrets of Healthy Living to Stop the Clock.
Fantastic. And where can people find you?
You can find me on my website, either www.marybethnewell, that's with 2 L's, .com, or I'm also on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
And people can get to your book directly. We linked that earlier this week in our hype post, so if you need to find it, it's there.
Right. So either on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or on my website.
Fantastic. Do the website. The author gets more money. Wahahaha. Jumping over to our third star guest, Sam. Who are you? What you do? Where you from? All that fun stuff.
Well, I'm from Indiana to start off with. So what I do is I run a podcast called Autism Rocks and Rolls. It's an autism and mental health podcast about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. Through the podcast, it's grown so much. I developed sponsors, a board of 6. I'm an event planner in Indiana, where I'm from. I also do motivational speaking services. I've spoken in Oklahoma, Orlando 3 times, Canada twice, Stuart, Florida, and Washington, D.C. I was a keynote speaker in Daniels, West Virginia. I also did a work conference in Columbus, Ohio. But what I'm trying to do through my podcast is really trying to change the stigma of a population that, in my view, gets ignored or ridiculed for the most ridiculous reasons alive. And I think, Roy, you can agree because we've had talks about, your son being autistic.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So yes, and where can people find
I
you if
think
they
it was
want to
your son.
find
It
your
may have
stuff?
been your daughter. I can't remember.
That was my son. You were right.
Good. You can find me on autismrocksandrolls.com.
All right. And just for people watching, it looks like we're having a bit of lag today. It might be my fault or it might be just the internet being wonky because it be like that. So be in for slow answers, and that's okay. And last but not least on our list, down at the bottom, is our newest addition to the Epic Sages family. Jared, you were here last week, but give a quick hello, talk for a little bit, yada yada.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jared. As Rook pointed out, I am the newest member of the Epic Sages team. Before that, I am still currently a content creator over on YouTube and Twitch, Couch Quest Gaming. I do relaxed and chill Let's Plays of video games, and not really meant for super competitive or like super like intense stuff. I'm mostly just there to just chill and vibe, and people want to like leave me playing in the background while they're doing their laundry. That's actually my target audience. So
Andre audience, it's the best. All right, well, let's get into tonight's topic and kind of go through things. As per usual, we're going to start with the great question of, when I say the words roll for your role, what is the first thing that pops into your mind? We're going to start ladies first on this one. Mary-Beth, do you have a preference between the adjunct names or just one or the other?
Okay. Sorry, when you say the word what was the word?
I was asking your name, how you prefer to be called, so I don't goof it up during the podcast.
Mary-Beth.
Mary-Beth,
Or
full name.
MB.
MB. Okay, either way, I can do both of those. Just want to make sure I'm not being rude over here. But the question is, when I say the words roll for your role, what is the first thing that pops into your head? What's the visual that pulls up for you?
Roll for the role.
Mm-hmm.
I would say dice.
Okay.
Sort of
Strong. Got it.
into my mind.
Okay, interesting. Got it. Tim, what about you?
Oh, obviously, your role for your role shows the heavy role playing motif, but it's definitely you hear that it's dealing with what you're dealt. So you
Okay.
roll for your role. I mean, so you're taking the step to engage in life and see what plays out. I think that's what it sounds like. Your role player-esque title for the topic points to is really how you deal with what you live in life and what plays out in front of you.
You're beating me to my topic points. How dare you, sir? But we'll get there. Wahaha. Over to Sam. Sam, what about you? When I use the phrase roll for your role, what pops into your head?
Wow, man, that's very thoughtful. When I say roll for your role, I think it's being responsible of what you do. So, like, I'm a podcaster. Clearly, my role in the role of broadcasting is making podcast roles. Dr. Blake's, his role is being a mental health coach or mental health practitioner. His goal is to study and help people in the mental health field.
Nice. Jumping down to Jared. Jared, what about you? What is the visual that you get when you hear the title?
honestly, like first thing that pops into my head is roll for your role is a chart on a piece of paper that you roll dice to determine what it is you're going to do next.
Okay, yeah, very very role play esque. The starting point of things, right? So with that, yeah, I think you guys all got the idea. It's a pretty simple topic, but it really is finding your fate through pure, dumb, blind luck, right? Something that all of us experience, whether we realize it or not, is we roll for our rolls quite a time. Very, very few times in life uh, is something 100% intentional, right? There's always a bit of chance, things that just happen and occur that changes the way that we get to a specific place, right? For roleplay stuff, sometimes it's literally a roll where you take dice and roll and be like, all right, I got a 12, so I'm playing as an orc. I got a 3, so I'm playing as a fighter. Yada yada yada. You build a character like that, which, by the way, if you're playing, is a very fun way to do one shots. So if you need an interesting idea, high tier suggestion. But that aside, when we talk about rolling for your role, right? I gotta ask, how you guys think that would apply to your specific genre, right? When we're talking, we're gonna start with Sam on this one. So Sam, when you're dealing with the autism spectrum and being a podcaster, how do you think the random chances played into how you deal with people, right? Or how you connect, or how you've kind of hit your position where you're at now?
Well, that's been going a lot all the time when it comes to social. We'll be here for hours. We talk about that. But anyway, when I started getting more and more, I don't want to say popular, but my podcast started getting more known. I had to learn a lot of, trying to get the right words here, interpersonal communication, which I'm not gonna lie, at first that went up the wazoo, terrible. But now, as I've started podcasting, it's actually helped me out a lot more. Because you would have seen me at 13, you would have been like, okay. Why is this guy saying this? It's not the right time for it. Now now I'm understanding, okay, now I know what to say at this moment.
I feel that. Go back and watch our season 1 stuff, and a totally different show. So, pure dumb luck and finding your stride, right? And kind of hitting things how they work. I feel that. Mary Beth, what about you? When you think about the rolling and the random chance that got you into where you're at now, you had mentioned in one of your talking points that someone had asked you, like, how do you look so young, and that kind of made you want to write a book. Like, how did that come about?
Well, it happened like 15 or 20 years ago, and people repeatedly would ask me what I was doing when they found out how old I was. I mean, really, it was luck that people kept on, and they kept on saying you should write a book. So after hearing it for about 15 years, I decided that I would go ahead and write a book in order to share the holistic practices that I've been doing my entire life.
Nice. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of ping off that one for just a second here. So like when you say you've dealt with it for 15 years, did you have 15 years of just kind of like shoving it off to the side, and one day it just finally you're like, all right, I'm gonna do it. I got nothing better to do, or was it like an intentional? You were waiting for the right moment.
Well, my life was so busy. I kept on thinking, yeah, I should write a book. But then finally, I just finally, you get older and it's either you're going to do it or you're not. And then it's like, okay, don't think about or talk about you're going to write a book. If for years you've been thinking about it, it's time to either do it or stop talking about it.
Okay.
So that's so I decided to go ahead and start writing it. And I mean, I work full time, so it took me about a year and a half to get it written and published. But yeah, it became one of my favorite hobbies.
Fantastic. That's all good, and I'll kind of come back to that in a little bit. Tim, what about you? Well, again, we go into the random chance and how you ended up to be in the spot which you are now, right? How do you think that came about for you?
Well, everything in life, either you think is just random and how it plays out, or you may think there's some created design, that you got who you were made to be, your identity. You've got a path that you didn't pick your parents, you didn't pick the things that happen. You learn, you grow, and basically you take in what's presented to you in life, the things that people pour into you, and the things that happen out of the course of the drama of your story. And as you take in, as you receive what's going on, some of it's injury, some of it is the things that you develop and grow as you mature, and then as you do that, you work on yourself. If you're doing well, you refine, and you sort out what's good, what's not good, and move on. Then to find what I can put out there for people, in terms of what's good for my well-being and blessing others. All that gets into living a mindset that's all about life, not just what, that was random. Some bad things happen, some random things occur. Yeah, yeah. Otherwise, we'd be an automated program. We're not. We're people, and we're living our lives, our ways, our stories, and we're adapting to the things that we can plan and getting to a path that we may have an idea, we may have a vision, but how it plays out is going to be different than what you ever contemplated, because there's steps that you take. And so, yeah, there is a lot of random in life, but maybe some of it's random, maybe some of it's not. We have no control over anything but ourselves.
Those
And
are
how
all.
we react to what we encounter.
I agree wholeheartedly. I wish you were last because that would have been a really good segue. But instead, I get to go bug Jared. Jared, do you have same kind of question for you? When you were talking about the randomness that got you to where you are now, is there any major points that you can look back and be like, yeah, I kind of just let the dice roll on this one and see where it's at? I can think of one relatively recently for you, but I'm not going to speak for you.
Well, if we're going with recent, talking to you and then ending up as part of Epic Sages would probably be the most recent example in my life. But, actually, Dr. Blake covered a lot of the points that I was thinking about when he was going over like just how things happen, how they're seemingly random, and all we really have control is over ourselves. And I don't know, just listening to all this just reminds me of popularized by the character Dr. Ian Malcolm in Jurassic Park. Life finds a way, and that character was a chaotician, a mathematician, and a mathematician who specialized in chaos theory, butterfly effect, that kind of thing. And it kind of makes you sit and think about just all the impossibly imperceivable number of things that contributed to getting us to this exact point. Just immediately around us, locally, globally, and in the whole universe. Everything had to align to a specific point for this moment to happen. And it's just kind of, whoa.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite examples
Sorry,
of that.
that's where my brain went.
No, you're good. That's a great answer. I mean, to kind of ping off that, one of my favorite examples of that is how many people had to be alive before you to get to us now, right? How many people had to have a family, have kids, and those kids had to survive long enough to have more children. I think to get to any one of us, it's something ridiculous like 40 million individuals before us have been around, kind of thing, that you can basically trace back in some form or fashion, which is a lot to say the least. But kind of on that, a big stepping off point for this topic is the roll for your role, or roll to find out what you're going to do, is just the first step in the process, right? For making a character randomly, or for all those other things, it is just the first step. You can create a character, you can create a story, you can be a specific thing by happenstance, but kind of like Dr. Blake was telling us, it's about the choices you make after that. Right? Sometimes you just get to deal with the cards you're dealt, right? Poker is a great example of this. You can fold them, move on, whatever you're trying to do. Hey, look, it's Younger. We're gonna invite him in here so he can yibber yabber with us too. But all that being said, it is just the first step, right? What you do with what you're given is 100% in your control for the most part. Now, obviously, there's still random jump off points and decisions you have to make. Mary-Beth makes a great explainer, being you waited 15 years to write a book, right? Because life is busy. You're a registered nurse. You're working full time. It's a lot of effort. Like you worked hard to get to that point to where you could write those things, right? And one of the biggest decision making problems that both role players and everyone else has to make with this thought here is when they get to that point, is when to take that step forward, right? So that being said, when do you guys think is the best signal, sign, whatever, that pushes your desires and needs forward? When you see something you're like, all right, I have to do this now. Is there anything that you can think of specifically? I know it's very situational, but in general, is there anything that you're like, if this happens, I need to do the thing? Sam, you got your hand raised, but you are muted.
Maybe.
There you
Okay, yeah. You were talking about what you should do if you see it go ahead. My advice for this is if it's working. I mean, when my podcast started, it started working because I'm not gonna lie. I was expecting this to be a hobby and maybe I get 10 downloads, right? Well, 10 turns into 20, 20 turns into 40, 40 turns into 60, 60 turns into 80, 80 turns to 100, 100 turns into 200. Now I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do here, but all right. Let's proceed with caution. When I say proceed with caution, I was thinking, well, I mean, do we go forward with this so we make more of what I could do? It turns out we, and I'll say to this day, I'm happy I went with that decision because now I have other stuff with my podcast I get to do. I get to be, not would say well known, but I get to be known in the community,
Right. Well, and I mean,
which wouldn't have happened if I didn't hop forward or, in your words, roll for roll.
roll for roll. Okay. All right. All right. Roll the dice. Get a little lucky. I like it. And I mean, on that note or on that point, uh, doing things when they're working is a great way to know, hey, we should continue forward with this, right? It's okay to test the water, dip your toes in things, do a little bit of something, and then parse it out as you need to. Mary-Beth, you look like you agree, so what you got to add on to that?
Yeah, I think a signal as a sign. Um, I've spent a long time and I've gotten pretty good at it of reframing my thinking in order to be kinder and compassionate to people. And I also don't get as irritated, so I'm not raising my cortisol levels. And that might be one of the reasons why I look younger than I am. But an example would be if you run into somebody who's rude, like a sales girl, or if you're at the rental car after you took a trip and you're tired and someone's real crabby with you. And I think the natural inclination is to be crabby back. But in order to try to step back and say, is that who I want to be? And really, this person that's crabby or the person that's cutting you off in traffic, to me, it's a signal. How do I want to respond? And do I want to respond in kind of being negative or crabby back? Or do I take a few deep breaths and with that crabby, rude person at the rental counter, look at them and say, it seems like you're having a bad day. I hope it gets better. Or thinking when that person cuts you off in traffic where you want to put the horn on or whatever, but trying to think, I wonder if that person's rushing to get to the hospital, or are they a tourist and they don't know where they're going and they really didn't even see you as they're trying to get across that lane, or do they have to get somewhere and they're running late? And then just trying to say, I hope that person gets where they're going safely. So for me, that's a signal. And I'll tell you, there's one time, and it still bothers me to this day. I should have done something. It was a signal. I was in a ladies' room in an airport, and there was this mother who was completely exasperated with this like 2.5-year-old. And, the kid's crying and she's spanking the kid and nothing was going well. And of course, people are looking away. And I think if I just would have said something to her, that it's hard traveling with a toddler, isn't it? Or something to support her, that, like I said, it bothers me years later that I didn't do something to try to make life better for that person who was going through something difficult.
Interesting. Okay. So your signal
So
is,
that's sort of along the line, a signal or a sign to do something.
gotcha. Okay. So one of those when the opportunity is given, take it when you can. Okay. All right,
Mhm.
all right, all right.
And make sure you do so you don't regret it.
Okay, yeah,
For not doing something years later.
right. Well, because sometimes it's okay to start something and then you got to cut it off because it just isn't working out, right? Sometimes the signs are do it, and then you do it. And it's like, I was supposed to do that so I can stop thinking about it and put my mental energy somewhere else. Also, hello, younger. Welcome to the fun. Jumping over to Tim. Tim, what is your go-to signal when you are waiting for that right moment to start something, right moment to do something? You have something prepped, something ready. When do you take that step towards the next thing?
In terms of taking a step, you first of all you've got to be aware. You got to know what's going on with you, either emotionally, what you're thinking, what your goals are, what your passion is, what it is that you feel called to do, and then you look and you see. So when the energy level and the feedback says, yeah, maybe it's time, and then life puts things in your way. When I got my doctoral degree, it had been a goal, but then circumstances came up where there was an opportunity to fit. And we engaged in the process and completed it. Now that, I'm in my 60s, I'm looking at, okay, the jobs I've been doing for a long time, if I just do that, I'll be working until I die. And so I have to make a choice. Well, what can I do differently? And what can I do to expand and grow? And then moving into trying to build some business levels so that I don't have to work 60 plus hours a week and I can find some things to bring it in. So in 5 years, Lord willing, I've got enough to be able to cut that back and move into the new thing. So part of it is what is that you're about, who you are, and then how the world plays out, the things that you have no control, your interests, your passions, your longings, and how you think. And odds are it ain't gonna all work out the way you thought, but you have to engage.
Okay, I have to.
And then you adapt as you go and pay attention to the signals, be aware. The signals, including what your reactions are, what your thoughts are, what your emotions are, what the feedback is, and then what's playing out in the environment around you.
Okay, I feel like that's a pretty fair statement. Though that can be hard at times, right? Especially recognizing when we have those negative emotions. Going back to what
Yeah.
Mary said about the people driving in their cars and whatnot. You're better than me. I'm honking every single time. I'm sorry. You cut me off. We're one step from fighting. Um.
The negative emotions, the negative emotions are signals that there's something that's uncomfortable, some threat, something going on that is demanding attention from
Right.
you, whether it's valid or not. Your negative emotions are cluing you in that there's something that's out of alignment and needs work. And so, and they're miserable, they're awful, but that's what the purpose they serve. Just wanted to, and when we talk about signals, I just wanted to catch that since you brought it up.
Yeah. No. That's super helpful to be honest, because sometimes people forget pain. Right. Is a terrible thing and no one likes it, but it's important because it stops you from doing dumb things. Right. If you didn't have pain, you're more likely to hurt yourself without realizing it. As a couple of us have been in the military, we know sometimes you just push past pain, and that sometimes doesn't work out for you. Years later, you cry about your knees because you decided to ruck march when you had a hurt ankle. It'd be like that, unfortunately. Speaking of military yahoos who have goofed up knees, younger. Well, we're talking about our taking our first steps after rolling the dice to figure out what we want to do, right? Are coming up with our random chances to be where we are. What is your go-to signal when something feels right when it's time to move forward?
Go-to signal. I mean, when you are unhappy with the results of what you are providing in your own life, and then a new opportunity to step outside of your quote unquote comfort zone, even if you've become complacent in that, complacent in your own misery or what have you, and actually just going and being like, you know what, I'll do it. Like I'll do something new. I'll try it new. If it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I can always rely on the set of skills of which I had before and do the things I was doing before. I might be miserable, But if you're always striving to do something different than that, you're gonna put yourself into a better position to find that light at the end of the tunnel.
Nice. I like that. Concise. Jared, same question to you. I
Open-minded.
unfortunately open-minded. That's nice. I think you got the short end of the stick here because they've had some great answers. But do you have anything to add on to it?
Sure. Just touching on a thing like just moments, signals when you know things are right. Just honestly, it's for a lot of people like me who, dealing with stuff like anxiety, where I've only really been treating it in the last few years, talking with a mental health professional because that's when I could afford it. But anyway, um, yeah, just a lot of the times I didn't really have a lot of calls to do things because I would just withdraw. So I was just kind of spending a good chunk of my life not letting things happen to me. And now in the recent few years, I've had many opportunities and many moments where it's just like, ignore the doubt and just go for it if this is something you want to do. But kind of expanding on the topic a little more, because everyone's had some really great points. Oh, sorry. Did someone have something to say?
No, you're good. You're good.
Thought I heard somebody.
Keep going,
Okay.
Jared. I was gonna react to that, but finish up.
Well, I was just going to expand a little bit on what people are saying. It's like when you say roll for your role and knowing signals and all that, it's also, you have to keep in mind that no one person is just one thing. We all adopt many different roles because people have many different facets to themselves. Like just growing up, you have the role of a child, a sibling. A little older in life, you end up becoming an uncle or a parent, and then whatever profession you choose to pursue, you have many roles within that. So people are not one thing; they are a collage of many different things. And I believe I used this quote last time too, but I will repeat it ad nauseum because it's one of my favorite quotes, and it's from Doctor Who. We all change when you think about it. We're all different people all through our lives, and that's okay. That's good. You got to keep moving as long as you remember all the people you used to be.
Solid quote for sure. And I think you did
Yeah,
use
so
that one last time.
what
That
I
was
want to
good.
react, you're,
Go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
oftentimes we do get stuck, and we get stuck in the pain. We get stuck in looking at comfort, and we don't advance. We don't pursue life. We're not taking the steps. We're not engaging in life because we're hurt, we're wounded, we're holding back. We're just trying to survive. But if you're engaging life, you're looking to live your life to the greatest and the most abundance. You're going to work to move through whatever's happening, and whether it be time to rest, time to engage, all the things that are the things that are your steps on the way of your life. Yeah, so would it be good? You talk about your anxiety. If you were able to deal with the stuff when you were stuck in it before, well, sure. I mean, yeah, but your life played out now, and the time is now. And so don't even look back and say, well, I missed out on so much if I just got a handle on that today, back then. Well, no. The timing is the timing, and your story is your story. But as long as you're engaged in moving and embracing life and not just trying to avoid pain and look for what feels good, you're going to progress to something that you can't even imagine.
Nice.
I remember a quote that was something along the lines of like, the best time to address a problem is in the moment. The second best time is the next opportunity to address it. And so like, you might not handled it then, but if you handle it down the road, that's the next chance that you get to fix it, and you take it, that's better than not handling it, right?
One of my favorite tropes with this kind of attitude is that's a tomorrow me problem. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's how you got to push forward with things, is hit them with a that's a tomorrow me. We're gonna work on this right now, right? Get through what we're dealing with. But we brought up the fact of being multifaceted, right? That's a really fun talking point, because in roleplay you can be single faceted. You can be the rogue. You can be the fighter, the wage, whatever you were trying, the wage or the money, the mage, deal with the magic and things like that. And with those roles, there are key points, but even in those roles, especially for like modern day D&D, right? Being the mage is just a basic title. There's subclasses. There's all kinds of other things that you get to do from those places, and no building play style is done the same, right? Because every player who's doing it is a unique player to run the game. You can try and even run, we'll say fan fiction characters of people from books, right? I have kids that we work with that love to make like cyberpunk characters because they love that video game, right? Not a single one of them actually hits what the real character acts like whatsoever, right? Because it's their own interpretation of what they're doing and whatnot. But multifacetism in that is important to remember that sometimes it's just how you get to a place is going to make you completely different. So I'm gonna sidestep what I was just talking about and get on to the next topic, which is what is some good advice for people that are having the problem with stepping forward, right? So like maybe they've seen the signals, but they're pushing off because something is in the way and something is troubling them, and they are having a hard time pressing forward. Do you guys have any kind of advice for that next step for it? I'm gonna start with Dr. Blake to start on this one, and then we'll go to Sam. Okay.
So you're getting the barriers to move, and actually, barriers to move is fairly common. We're going to experience anxiety, fear, uncertainty, and so it involves taking the steps, taking the courage, trying, then adapting and refining as things go differently than you expect, as they always do. But it's having the courage to take the step, and courage to move through. And oftentimes anxiety and even the various things get in the way. And it's like, I'm comfortable here, and that's a step I'm not so sure about because I don't know what's going to happen, and then we don't move. Or sometimes what happens is you move and then you self-sabotage and you go right back to your negative patterns, the things that you're stuck in before. And that's a process that often happens with an addiction, for example. But it's being willing to do the self-reflection, and to take the steps. See, in life, inertia does happen. You tend to stay in the state you're in unless something energizes you enough to move. So if you're at rest and not moving, you're going to kind of stay that way. And then maybe something happens, a life event, whatever, and then okay, now it's time to move. And then once you're moving, you tend to get going. That's kind of things, on the engagement and rest. And so finding where the passion is, where the energy is, what's going to get you to take the step past that anxiety barrier into what you don't know is ahead. But it's going to be different than where you are now.
Okay, interesting. So not necessarily have a plan, but find the energy to get you started. Okay, that's a fun way to find a motivation. And to kind of caveat on that, if your motivation is
there's not just one way.
right, exactly. I mean, if your motivation is, hey, I want a new car, there you go, working towards a new car, or hey, I want to be able to buy ice cream for my kiddos at the end of the week. There you go, something simple. It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be something you can do for funsies, all that other fun stuff. So before we get too stuck on this one, because I could talk about this for a while, I'm going to jump over to Sam. Sam, what's your advice? This is your area of expertise, so I'm listening.
Well, depends on how you look at it, but my advice would be for this situation, people who can't move forward is I don't want to say there's nothing wrong taking a step backwards, but there shouldn't be a problem with throwing something away completely. Now let me explain. So this probably be best to explain with an example. So one of my guests I had was WWE Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts. If you guys are wrestling fans, you probably know who he is. But anyway, one of the kicker was his childhood was rough. Like he was physically beaten, sexually beaten up. I mean, it was bad. It was really rough. Well, it's gotten so bad that he was named Aurelian Jr. And he says on Dark Side of the Ring with the docu series that they did on him and his story, but he was named Aurelian Jr. Obviously, he got the wrestling name Jake the Snake. Today, I think he legally changed his name if I remember correctly. If I could be wrong on this, so don't correct me if I'm wrong. Today, in his brain, and he may have legally changed his name to Jake the Snake because in his brain he had to throw Aurelian away or he wouldn't have made it. So my point is, if you had to throw something away because you didn't make because you're gonna basically be in the ditch, throw it away because it's what you might have to do at the end of the day, or you're not going to make it. I mean, I pretty much went through 15 years of exclusion. The guy back then is not the same guy I was now. I actually had to throw the self-conscious, scared boy who I was 15 years ago to get to where I am today.
Okay, so like
It's part
not
of
be.
refining, letting go, and getting rid of the things that get in the way.
Yep, we've talked about this before on the show. Very much, yeah, especially when it's on a personal level. But not to cut off or go too hard on it. But this also really applies to RPG characters, right? I have a character that I'm playing currently. One of the whole point of this character is he speaks French when he rages, right? He's a barbarian, and that was supposed to be the funny gimmick. Is when I was raging, I spoke French. I am terrible at French. Honestly, I'm terrible at most languages, including English. So we're coming to the point where like I have catchphrases now, and that's about it for French. I don't speak the entire time, but it's an okay concept to just yeet out the window, right? Same thing with accents and other things that you do with characters. Sometimes you just like this sounds like a cool idea, but then you play it, you're like, that's not it. That's not the thing. Let's redefine and focus on something else, right? Mary Beth, jumping over to you. Same original question. What is your advice for people that are kind of stuck at that jumping off point?
Well, I have to agree with Dr. Blake as well as Sam that throwing away things or not focusing on the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Okay, you can get stuck at woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I think setting goals, holding yourself accountable, or having a support system, and sometimes that support system may not be your family and friends. Sometimes they don't want you to move in a different direction. So, and thank goodness we have the internet and Facebook because you can find some type of a community or a tribe if you want to be moving forward. And I think not being so hard on yourself of if you make any kind of a step forward, maybe you make one step, two steps forward and one back. Well, instead of you learn something, but or having affirmations, even when I had to start doing public speaking in front of hundreds of people, that was pretty scary for me. And so what I did was like a role playing. I pretended I was Miss America and would Miss America stutter and get all nervous. So I turned into the role of Miss America so I could project the being I wanted to be. But I think that affirmation, you can do it, setting goals, having positive reinforcement either from your tribe, or the community that you've found. Now, it might be your family and friends, but I do think if it's something specific, you may want to look for some people outside of your immediate circle.
To kind of tag on this, we were on a show called The Blocks our first year in business, and we met some of the most amazing entrepreneurs ever. And they continue to inspire us. It's a growing community. There's always new people coming in, and they are always just people that we could be younger can agree to this, I assume. They are people that could have been our friends since like middle school or high school. They just vibe. They're on the same wavelength. They understand what we're doing. They are in that tribe because they're all entrepreneurs and things, right? They understand the struggle and the dealings and all the stuff you have to go through. So that's a great example for finding new people because sometimes they give you great ideas too. And on accident from time to time is great. Speaking of people in our tribe, Jared down at the bottom there. What is your advice as someone who's dealt with the anxiety side of things and has made those steps forward, especially in recent years? What is your biggest suggestion for people that might be stuck on the precipice?
Well, to kind of complement slash counterpoint to some of the words that have been said already, one of the biggest things you need is patience with yourself. You need to be able to just take a breath and take stock and be like, okay, so where am I at? Okay, I'm not getting to where I need to be, but am I where I was before? And it kind of plays back into that whole idea of multiple facets and being different people as we evolve over time. My my mental health care professional actually made me aware of I don't remember the name of the exercise, but there's actually it's borderline like post hypnotic, but it's a self-guided exercise where you actually imagine yourself at a point in your life that you were having difficulty. Specifically, this was intended to for finding like a point in your childhood where you were having a very difficult time, and at that time as a child you didn't know how to deal with what was going on with you. And what the exercise does is it puts you in a mental space. Like, the best thing I can describe it as is mental time travel, that your current self goes back and finds that, whether they're a scared kid or an angry kid, whatever trouble that kid was dealing with, you're now there as the adult and you have the opportunity to be the adult that that kid needed in that moment. And it was a really poignant experience for me, because she suggested I try it, and I did, and it blew me away. So yeah, patience. And while you should throw away anything that you can recognize in yourself as toxic or harmful, you should always remember to have kindness and patience for previous versions of yourself, because you were just doing the best you could at that time.
That's a solid way to say it. I like that.
Absolutely.
Younger.
Essential
Yeah.
in terms of dealing with anything in life. Yes.
Can I add to that real quick?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
May I? If not, I'll shut
Absolutely.
up.
No, go Sam.
Because at the same point, Jared, here's my view too. I think by me how to throw it away, at the end of the day, I don't forget where I came from. There's a reason why I haven't, burned the 15-year-old me completely. It's because at the end of the day, it's a part of who I was. And it's good to reflect on, because now I can realize, oh, I know what to do now. And it reminds me of all the time to work extra harder. Let's not go back there.
Nice.
Absolutely. Got to keep moving forward.
Younger, jumping over to you.
I think, as for advice, it's not going to be nearly as heartstringy as some of the other mentions, but it's more along the lines of like doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is literally the definition of insanity. And so unless you change something in your life or what you're doing to make something different, and expecting it to be one day you're just gonna wake up and it's gonna be better without you taking those steps to do something different to move towards being better, is insane. Like, you cannot just hunker down and it's all gonna, like, I mean, you could wait for the storm to pass if it's an external force, but if it's like somewhere where you've stuck yourself, you're in that same job, dead end job, you're not progressing or whatever, just keeping on doing the exact same thing is not going to improve your life necessarily, right? So sometimes it's good, like mentioned before, leave the past in the past, and take a step forward, even if it's uncertainty, just for the opportunity for it to be better.
Nice. I have another addition for helpful advice for this. And sometimes when you need to make a step, you also need to make a nemesis, an enemy, a rival, right? Someone that can motivate you externally. And they don't have to be a real person. They can be an imaginary fictional Yahoo in your brain. Like you're playing D&D, there's always a bad guy, a big evil guy, whatever, right? Having that on a personal level, when you are trying to get to the next phase of things, could be important, right? Because you got to be able to deal with that entity, whatever it is, in the rival, the person that you're trying to be better than or whatnot. Isn't always the healthiest choice, so you got to be careful when you use that. But it is an option, right? If you're one of those people that thrive on competition and you need to be the best at something, but you're like, I don't know how to move forward, having a non-existent rival isn't a terrible choice. Is it a silly thing to do? 100%. But it is an option. Jumping into kind of the
or
back.
You can compare yourself to yourself, your past self.
Oh, don't do that. Then you
trying
just
to
get
improve
sad.
your running time score.
don't do that.
Trying to improve your running time score.
This is true. You can do that, but don't do that. You're just going to be angry at yourself if you fail. But kind of on the
that's what I do.
on the back end of things, Going back to letting fate decide your fun, right? The second idea in this whole conversation is allowing things to just happen, right? Sometimes you just got to let things roll. You got to let things go. You got to again cut things off that we kind of talked about. But how do you just like stop yourself to just let things happen, right? How do you take a step back and just like let things progress, right? How do you be patient when you need to be, right? We're gonna start with Sam on this one.
Well, patience. Where do I go with that one? I'm not the most patient person, so this is actually a challenge.
Okay, we've lost him. He's frozen super hard.
Casting didn't come naturally with me. I mean, I had to be patient to learn my skill, but also with the podcast Autism Rocks and Rolls, as I said, it grew over time. My point I'm trying to make here is I didn't reach out to those people, they reached out to me. So, my point I'm trying to make here is you have to be patient and wait because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I did not expect 40 downloads, yet 40 people came to me,
Nice. I mean, yeah. I mean, sitting through the rough
which
stuff to
still
get to the better
mind
thing.
blows me to this day.
Hey, we all start somewhere, so it's important to get to that point. I feel you there. Mary Beth, what about you? What is your how do you practice that? Just letting things go after you've started the process in a positive manner, obviously.
Well, I think I would I anything positive, I try to remember that and use it to grow. And if things did not go well, I like to analyze things. So I try to figure out why did something not go the way I wanted it to? How, if I have that same situation, how am I going to do it differently in the future? And if I'm not sure, I might research something to figure out how to do it differently. And then I mean, we were talking before about growing, and I'm in my mid 60s, and it's like, would I want to be 25 again? No. I don't want to be 25 again because I really like the person I am right now. And everything didn't go perfect in my life. There are times that, I wish this wouldn't have happened. I wish that didn't happen. But it makes me the fabric of who I am. And if I didn't go through some of those struggles, I don't know that I would like myself as much as I do right now. So I think learning from things in the past and trying not to dwell on them. Sometimes you have to grieve some things, but you do it. I mean, I've known some women that going through a divorce can be very emotionally trying, but 7 years later, they're still they're stuck. They can't get out of where they were. And I'm like, you need to move forward. Your life isn't going to change if you're stuck in the past. But I think a lot of you guys have talked about the courage to move forward or to try something different, even though it might be scary. But that's how we grow, and I think become more fulfilled people.
Gotcha. Okay, Dr. Blake, on to you, sir. Same question. How do you exude patience once the process has started?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? Because we get stress, and stresses are going to put, by nature, pressure, and it's going to demand patience to get through. We're often not that way. We're going to get disrupted, get overloaded, overwhelmed. But whatever is going on, if you have the patience, if you have the ability to stay and ride through what riding through, and okay, this is a moment, and maybe it's really, really overwhelming emotions, in terms of stressors and things going on in life. Maybe physically, you got suddenly pain issues and other things going on that don't seem to be going away. Patience is a primary means of being able to get through life difficulties and challenges, and when things don't go the way we expect, because we're going to face that. Yeah, and things are randomly. But if you got the mindset of, yeah, whatever I face, I'm going to move through, I'm going to find life, I'm going to find the glimmers, I'm going to find hope, I'm going to learn what I can from this. And, maybe it's so bad right now, I got to buckle down and rest until I can re-engage again. It's a process, and you take time to reflect and examine. And odds are you're going to do something wrong, and then when you do something wrong, take the steps to learn, recover, re-engage, kind of like what you do in the role-playing games, right? Um, this is an ongoing process of life. It includes whether or not you believe that the change is possible, and you've got to focus on not just your pain or your comfort, but what it is that you're going to move towards in growth.
Nice. Okay. Younger, I'm gonna phrase the same question, but more in the RPG spectrum. When we're looking at like how do you push through with a character that you're trying out for the first time? When you're trying a whole new class, right? For someone or maybe even a new system. Um, how do you personally feel like you give something enough time?
So I think as a dungeon master, or a game master, the best way to look at it is kind of like an open-ended question, right? Everybody's to have fun, right? How exactly you go about getting to the fun part is up to discussion, right? Like every dungeon master has their like, oh, even if you're running a module, you're like, this is how it should be run, da 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 da, and you're setting that expectation, you're going to be unhappy. But if you let the players just do what the players do and unravel the story in the way that they want to, they each have their own characters that have their own influences in the world, and not setting that expectation upon the players themselves allows for them to have the freedom to have enjoyment in the session, and allows you to not be stressed as the dungeon master, even though things didn't go exactly as they were written in the module, right? And I think that in of itself, and leaving it open for development outside of uh, a particular expectation, other than like we're just here to have a good time, will be the best solution for having patience with your group.
Okay, nice. I like how you said that. That's pretty solid. Jared, I throw you the same similar question again from an RPG standpoint.
Could you repeat the question? Because,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
said, I was just kind of
No,
I
no,
was,
you're
I was
good.
focused on all the words being said. I forgot the original question.
So the question was, how do you know you've given uh, enough time to a new system or a new character or a new class? Like, how do you determine? This is a personal question. How do you determine it's been long enough to be like, yeah, I like it, or no, this is trash? Generally.
Um, well, in my case, I tend to read over if it's something as small and digestible as like a new class or a new player species or even a magic item. I sit and I digest it a few times over and over again, just read over it a couple times. Something as large as like a whole adventure, because that's a story.
Mm-hmm.
And that I will admit is something of a block for me. Modules are hard for me because it's reading a book it's like reading a novel with homework. And I was homeschooled, so homework is something of a hot button topic with me because it was all homework. But anyway, but as far as when to know when something like clicks in that regard, it really just matters. Like my focus has always been the role play side of things. The numbers, everything else that matches up, that's all fun. It's fun to make the numbers go burr, but ultimately, does it facilitate the character I had in mind when I selected that class or that species? Does it feel right, like portraying this character? Sorry, dusting off something. Uh, random squirrel. Anyway, but yeah, in the moment, like if the role play feels right, is the signal for me. Like if I can roll into the character and just adopt their mindset and nothing's really getting in the way, that's the signal to me on whether or not I've made a decision on whether it's right for me.
Okay. So to kind of caveat on that really quick, because we're running out of time, when is there generally a time frame you give that, or is it kind of an instantaneous?
Case by case, it
Case by
has to
case.
be
Okay.
because no thing can really be measured in the same amount of time.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. With that, I think we're gonna get into final thoughts and where we can find everybody and all that fun stuff because we're at the hour mark, so we're trying to wrap it up as quick as we can here. Dr. Blake, start us off. Who are you? Where you from? Final thoughts on today's topic? All that fun stuff.
And Dr. Tim Blake, and actually, where I'm from, Minnesota, and I've been, doing mental health for just a minute, and looking to grow into doing some new things for me. I've been working on refining that as I'm taking the steps to engage. And with that, moving into the coaching sphere, life mindset life. There's beginning, elements, and I keep putting out here on this that there is a free gift to actually an identity, reflection, reading, that's we call it Discover.com. It's a 12 reflective writings that you can go through. It's not a book that you read to know, something that you can engage to process. And so life success gift at .lifemindset.life, too much in there, but life success gift .lifemindset.life. Lots of life.
That's life.
So you get a free copy of that, and I've got things progressing. I'm going to be working on a lot of stuff in July. So probably the next time I join you all, I will hopefully have got a whole lot more going for my projects. So we'll see whenever that is.
Fantastic. I can't wait to have you back. Mary-Beth, you're next on my screen here. What about you? Where final thoughts on tonight's topic and where people can find you and all your fun stuff one more time.
Okay. Well, I found the discussions to be very insightful and a lot of words of wisdom. And I think I'm going to reflect on some of the discussion points that were brought up. I really found it to be very valuable. And Dr. Blake, you're in Minnesota. I'm down here in, well, it's storming tonight, but I'm in sunny Florida, Sarasota, Florida. So I'm a beach girl. And people can find me on www.marybethnewell.com, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And just like you have a gift for the listeners, if they want to go to my website, there is a free gift, a mini ebook on easy ways to delay aging and live better. So if anybody's interested in that, they can download that for free.
Fantastic. Always love the free gifts. Wahaha. And last but not least on our star guest panel, Sam. What'd you think? Last minute thoughts for tonight's topic, where you're at, all your fun stuff.
All right, saving the best for last. Right now, I'm just kidding. You all have been wonderful. But anyway, you guys can find me on your favorite media platforms. I'm on autismrocksandrolls.com. That's my official website. My podcast is on your favorite media platforms. Again, Spotify, YouTube, not a hard guy to find. It was great meeting everybody. I thought the discussions were pretty great, and I got to know some pretty cool people, and I actually got a free gift too. It's my Calendly link on my website. It's at the very bottom. You'll set up a call with me, and I'll be happy to say hi because, hey, I think I can definitely say I made a couple of new friends today at least.
Hey, it's always good there. For our side of things, discount code this month is still Bearfish for all caps, the bear and the fish, all one word, like Younger's little statue he got while he was up here. We do have some events coming up. Obviously, next week we have both I'm dying over here. Excuse me. D&D and Power Rangers both next week, and also next Saturday will be the Midnight Sun Festival. If you're up here in Fairbanks, Alaska / North Pole, we'll be causing havoc on the streets down there. Younger, Jared, any other things that I'm forgetting?
Well, Midnight Sun Festival, I'll be there too, and you can get photos with me in my Ghostbusters cosplay. I even have the Proton Pack. So yeah, come out, have some fun with us.
We just got a bunch of new inventory, so it'll be
We did.
perfect opportunity to go and see what we got.
Yes, I'll post those later. All right, and then last thing for our guest, we have an outro song that you guys get to pick because it's one of our random ones that we've made. So I need a number between 1 and 8 from each of you. Number 6, 6, 5, and Dr. Blake. 7. Ah, okay. All right, now I gotta do math. All right. And with adventure in mind, have a wonderful time. Talk to you later. Bye. Maybe if I can click the button. Come here now. I believe in you.
We stood side by side, hearts burning bright, chasing dreams, bathed in neon light. We swore no one could tear us apart, but shadows grew inside your heart. I see it now, the cracks, the lies, jealous whispers in your eyes. You turned away, you shut the door, now we're not brothers anymore. We were kings, we were fire, now it's war, now it's dire. I see your face, I hear your name, all I feel is hate and blame. Every victory, every cheer, you stood close, but hid your spear. Did you smile when you planned my fall? Did you dream of taking it all? I see it now, the cracks, the lies, jealous whispers in your eyes. You turned away, you shut the door, now we're not brothers anymore. We were kings, we were fire, now it's war, now it's dire. I see your face, I hear your name, all I feel is hate and blame. I gave you trust, I gave you time, but you crossed that fragile line. Now it's your move, now it's mine, and only one